show, and I'm co-hosting with.
Bonolo Lipping is the name.
Today we have an incredible brain that I love, that I adore. Someone very educated. She was born in a place which doesn't exist, which is so strange. But now when they try to trace where she's from, they only find Marapian. And she has been pursuing education because of her father, who was always making her to pursue education. Through the tumultuous circumstances which she was born and raised in, she never gave up hope. She rose to higher patterns. And today she's sitting here with us. She's a great example to us and so many young people, whether male or female. She was the former vice chancellor of the number one university in the country. It's so strange. I met Vets, but honestly, we have to acknowledge that UCT is number one university, and she's a professor by profession. And welcome to us, Me. I'm really sorry. I love this title, Queen Mother, Queen Mother, Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng.
Thank you so much for welcoming me and for inviting me.
Thanks so much. I'm a huge fan of you as a person and huge fan of what you have done and achieved. Briefly tell us who's the Queen Mother. I will call you the Queen Mother throughout the interview. I love that title.
Well, I'm a mother.
Yes.
And what can I say? I'm committed to education. I guess you can call me an education activist because I really, really believe that education changes lives. It's an enabler. It certainly enabled me. I don't think I would be, sometimes I think I'll be something, but I think without education, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of things that I want to do. It gave me confidence to get into the spaces that I didn't know and accept that I don't know what I don't know and learn. It gave me the sharp thinking, even in situations where there is no solution and one has to come up with a solution. But it also gave me an opportunity to make a difference, mainly in young people. And that's why I believe in education. I can make a difference in the young people, difference that can impact the country.
That's so lovely. Today we know Queen Mother as this brilliant mind.
You are very kind.
Maybe I inherited from you. I don't know. I don't know, Queen Mother. I love you so much. You are very kind. You have done so much to this country, and I will talk about it a little bit later on. But how did you grow up?
You know, I grew up in Marapiani and Garankuwa. Of course, I was born in Eastwood, that doesn't exist now. It's Hartsfontein, where black people were removed, forcibly removed. And my mother went to school, went back to high school when I was starting grade 1. So I grew up with a lot of movement. First of all, I went to about 7 schools in 12 years of basic education. And we lived in Marapiani, lived in Garankuwa. And the movement of schools was sometimes family circumstances. Sometimes it was politics of the country. What many young people do not know is that during apartheid, it wasn't just a separation between black and white. There was a time in the 80s, maybe late 70s, it is where homelands were introduced. And so we found ourselves in Botswana. And young people never think about when you introduce a homeland, it's like you declare some part of the country a different country. And so they introduce their own education system. And so things changed. And then you find yourself having to change school because of that. So the way in which sometimes I changed school was because of that, of the change in politics. And thirdly, the other reason why I changed school so many times was because when my parents thought I will get a better education. Like when I did matric, my mother was already teaching, and my mother was a domestic worker, by the way. She also worked in the factories, and then when she went back to school, she already had 3 children. And so she was teaching when I did matric, and of course now she admits that they took me to boarding school in Garanku, in Hebron, the village, because he thought the boys in the village would not see me. She tells me that she says this on my 40th birthday. She says they thought I looked too good and the township boys would play around with me, so they better take me to a village boarding school because they thought it's safe. I mean, I don't think it worked. I mean, they're all the same, these boys. Village, township, same thing. So I still saw them. I still interacted with them. I mean,
Women are all.
Yes, I must say they did try to take me to a girls' school, but the girls' school was affiliated to the Catholic Church, and we are not Catholic, so the girls' school didn't take me, and so they had to take me to a village school, which is Hebron. Of course, the school doesn't exist anymore. Hebron is now Manotsi Muduani in the village of Hebron.
Right. So in addition to what Simon said, I think I'm also moved. I'm seated next to a whole powerhouse.
Oh, wow.
A woman of a multitude of accolades. That's amazing. So I'd like to know, could you give us a brief overview of your academic ladder? So that pertains to, degrees that you've attained leading up to you becoming a whole professor. Could you give us more insight into that?
So as I said, Bukutatswana happened to us.
Right.
We woke up one day, we were all in Bukutatswana. So my first degree, I went to the University of Bukutatswana. Of course, my dad was a force on that. I wanted to go to University of Limpopo, which is Teflop. And at that time, Teflop had a reputation of fast life. Girls coming back pregnant. My dad said, absolutely not. You're going to the University of Bukutatswana. I had actually gone to Teflop, and I was supposed to take my belongings and go back and start school. So I went to University of Bukutatswana. I did my undergraduate degree there. University of Bukutatswana was very interesting because all the degrees were professional degrees. And as you can imagine, Bukutatswana was a so-called country, homeland, and so they were producing skills for their country. Teachers, nurses, accountants, lawyers, whatever. So if you wanted to do a BSc or a BA degree, it had to have education. You couldn't just do it. So we did a 4-year degree because it needed to have education. So I did a 4-year. I started with a BSc education. And then, of course, I flunked chemistry. And frankly speaking, I failed chemistry because I didn't study. I just didn't like it enough. So I didn't spend time studying it. I spent time studying mathematics. Many students are shy to say that. If you don't study something, you're simply going to fail it. It's just as simple as that. No, but I loved maths. and I spent time on maths, right? And so when I failed chemistry, I figured I will not make the time to study this thing. So I must find, at that time, it was first semester, I decided I've got to be clear about why I'm here. And my clarity was, I'm here for maths. I'm spending more time doing it, so I must focus on maths. So I said to them, I went to the counseling center and say, please help me. My parents said they'll only allow me to be at university for 4 years. My dad took a loan at work. He said, he's not, my sister is coming. My brother is ahead of me. I've got to get this degree in 4 years. And they said, you're saying math is only what you need? I said, yes. They said, well, you can do maths. You can change to a BA. Take any other course that you think you can pass quickly. And your maths, education was compulsory. And so I looked around and I thought, Setswana, I can pass. Of course, I didn't know that I'll have to read 10 books every semester, which of course just needed time. It just needed time. As long as I did read them. Every semester you had to read 10 books, Setswana books. So when I know every book up to that time that was published in Setswana. So that's my undergraduate degree. All my postgraduate degrees were done at Wits, up to PhD. Cut long story short, I think it's important to mention to young people that all of my postgraduate degrees, I did them part-time. Many young people think that you need the luxury of doing full-time. I did them part-time, married, with a child. So with a family, all of that. And I made sure, the pressure to get those in the record time were important. I started my PhDs in 1998. And at that time, when I started my PhD, I was working in the NGO field. I have been a teacher, by the way. I've taught at college, at high school, and then I went into the NGO world, working with schools in the farm areas in the West Rand, in farm schools. I left a government job as a subject advisor, went to work in farm school. It was the most exciting 5 years of my life. And then I decided I want to do a PhD. And fortunately, I had been offered an opportunity to be a research assistant here at Wits in 1996 before I started. And I took that. From being a project manager in an NGO, I went down to be a research assistant. because at that time I had decided I want to be an academic. And you can imagine, you're a project manager, you go down to be a research assistant, you got to be humble. I had a master's degree, and I wanted to start a PhD. I was a research assistant. I did everything, collecting literature, doing literature reviews, doing coffee for everyone, organizing when we go to collect data in Limpopo, driving. I mean, I was doing everything. But what's important, I learned a lot in that period of being a research assistant. In 1998, when I started my PhD, I had experience of being in a large research team. I had a grant, a presidential research grant. I was a tutor. I had gotten a job. I took leave without pay in 1998, and I was in the math department here at Wits. Because I had a grant, I mean, I didn't even have funding for my salary. My supervisor pieced things together. I got a million grant. My supervisor had NRF. We put them together so that I get some salary because I had leave without pay. But I wanted to be an academic. And many young people do not want to invest in something that they like. I had to downgrade my lifestyle. Fortunately, I had my car paid up. We were renting a house at that time, and I had a son. But I started a PhD and thought, I'm giving myself 4 years. In this 4 years, I must finish the PhD and I must have a full-time job as an academic. And by the end of 1998, I remember towards the end, I applied for a job that they had advertised in the math department to be a tutor. I remember I'm doing a PhD. I'm a project manager.
Big deal.
I wasn't yet a big deal. But I mean, the humility comes here in the sense that in the research group, there were people who had master's degrees and were not doing PhDs. And I remember when I started, I was the only black person. And my friends thought, gosh, what are you doing to yourself? You must be crazy. You're even doing coffee for these people. These white people, some of them don't even have master's degrees or PhDs. But I didn't care. I wanted to be in academia. I wanted to learn everything that happens in a research group because I saw myself one day as a leader of the research group. Professor Edler was leading this group. I thought one day I'm going to be Professor Edler. And by the way, I had told her that I want her job. So in a way, I was an apprentice to her. And so she was exposing me to what it takes. And I took that. And the end of the day, when I got that job as a tutor, the job offer, the salary, the gross that Wits offered me in the math department to be a tutor was not even equal to my net at the NGO, Center for Community Development at that time. And I looked at it and I thought, the money's not good, but the location is good. I want to be in that university and learn how to be an academic. And I took it. I thought, I'm not negotiating. I'm taking this. I'm taking this because I want to build an academic career. And I can see that here, I'll build it. Many people wouldn't have taken it. And I see many young people who say, well, I'm offered. I mean, I don't even want to say it was 4,000. It wasn't equal to my net. It took 3 years for my gross at Wits to be equal to the net I was getting at the NGO. And I thought, that's fine. I'm getting a career. And so the salary. And when I say to people, I make money, I don't make money decisions, I make career decisions. That's where it started. It didn't start up there. It started there. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't have built a career. I would have stayed in the NGO because the money is good. And I would have done, the academic thing, in that way, like many other people did at that time. But their careers didn't move as fast as mine. So I could finish my PhD in 4 years. Because I was doing my PhD at Wits, studying and working at Wits, and it was all around me, and I could just invest the time. So yeah, it helped me. And when I finished the PhD, by the way, because of the location and the work and what I was doing here, I didn't just get a PhD. I had publications in accredited journals. I had gone to conferences every year because I was part of the space and the group. Yes. It wouldn't have been the same if I stayed in the NGO. So the money would have been good, but I wouldn't have had the experience and the outputs that I got in the 4 years of the PhD. The many people I graduated with were getting a PhD. I was getting an entire career. Experience of presenting at international conferences and publications that many people my age at that time did not have.
Now you remind me of Theo Baloy. Do you know Theo?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
But
yeah,
of course.
yeah. It was like when he was still working, the owner of this show, by the way. It was like when he was still working, he used to do coffee, you know, for everyone whenever he's going out for lunch. Do you guys need coffee? 16 people, impossible for him to keep that. But because of that, he was always given better opportunities.
Yes.
Yeah, but you remind me of him. By the way, Basson, he said I must say hi to you. He said he's a great fan.
Who's that?
Basson,
Adriaan.
yes.
Oh, really?
He said he's a fan.
Adriaan, a fan. Well, tell you
I'm
right.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Let's put it this way.
I'm playing.
Fans don't do what Adriaan does, okay?
Yes.
Fans do better.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you should run lessons for how fans behave and they treat their idols.
Yes.
Because what he's doing is not Ayoba.
It's impossible for someone to always cover a story of you if he's not a fan.
Oh,
He's a
okay.
bitter fan, maybe somehow. He's a jealous fan, we don't know. With that being said, man, how do you feel having to start from the bottom?
Yeah.
Growing up in a very tumultuous circumstances, whereby I can say you grew up in poverty.
Yeah.
You worked so hard, so tirelessly hard every day, making all the sacrifices that you had to make.
Yeah.
You raised up into a big deal that you are today, only to find that there's, maybe I would say, a part of the media that is against you, and this certain individual that are trying to trash talk your name every time.
You know, my view is that there's a devil for every level. You want to go higher, you must know that your detractors are going to get stronger. If you don't have detractors, you're not making any moves. If everyone is quiet about you, nobody's saying anything, you're not making any moves. And that's okay. Some people choose to do that. Some people choose to get into a space and just keep the waters running. They don't make any moves. It's like just keep it going. Just keep it going. And that's fine. I don't get into a space and plan that I'm gonna shake it up. I get into a space and say, I want to do a good job. This is the assignment. And I want to do a good job. And when I get opposition, my first reaction is, wow, or clearly they're watching, and it matters that they disagree or agree with me. And that's because I'm an academic. Can I tell you something about academia? You know, I'm sure you've heard people saying, does your research have impact? My research is impactful, like when you get a rating and so on. And in academia, we count your impact by looking at your citations. When we look at citation, we look at people who cite your work. When you look at citations, we don't look at who cites you positively or negatively. We look at, when you write a paper, does anyone pay attention at all? Whether they agree with you or they disagree with you, the fact that they are paying attention, it means your paper is impactful. It means you are impactful. Because here's the thing, in academia, if you write a paper and we just ignore you, you're not making an impact. So actually, and there are papers and people who we ignore. It's like, Masilo Simon. There's no point in disagreeing with you. Because actually, you don't matter in the space. When you matter in the space, people read your paper and they either agree with you or disagree with you, extend what you're saying, and that's how we matter. We in academia, we measure impact. We measure the citation. We talk about citation index. Your citation index is high because people quote your work, and it's not because they're so. Adriaan and the lots of my detractors, what they're doing is that they're saying, I am worth talking about. There are other vice chancellors who are not even worth mentioning. Because I would be worried if nobody, the people thought I'm not worth talking about. And by the way, some people pay to be on the cover of the magazine and for them to be written about. There are vice chancellors who have paid.
And you never
paid. No, they approached me. This magazine that put vice chancellors on it. They approached me and they said, you pay this much. I said, no, me, I don't pay. I'm worth you putting me on your cover. If you don't want to put me on your cover, I am fine. Okay, and I actually got to a point where I said, actually, you must pay me. Because if I'm on your cover, they are going to, of course, but other vice chancellors pay to be on the cover. I don't do that. So what I'm saying is that Adriaan knows the value of making me headline. He knows the economy of it. And that's why he's doing that. That's why even when he's not talking about me, he's talking about the chair of council, he puts my picture. It's not that the person doesn't have a picture. So my view is that every level has got its own devil. The devil of my last level was Adriaan and his kind, and you know, and it's because I'm worth talking about.
So
otherwise.
So, Ruma, because of time, we would like to wrap up.
Yeah.
You have retired now. Are you going back to teaching as a professor? Because that's your calling, if I may put that way.
Yeah.
And what are your plans for now? I know you have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
What can we expect from the channel? And are you continuing with this media tour and and in every platform? What can we expect from you now?
No, I'm not on a media tour. Yes. By the way, I took early retirement. Yes. Because when you're 55 or over, that's the best way to exit. Financially, it's the best way to exit. Otherwise, you could just resign. Financially, it's not wise to just resign. It's wiser to take early retirement. So it was a financial decision, not a career decision. I am working. I'm executive chair of some company that does food and farming and whatever. I mean, if you've been following me, you know that's the other space I occupy. So I'm executive chair of that. So I spend time in that company. I won't say which one because I don't want to give people data to write about, right? But I spend time there talking strategy. We are expanding. We want to go into retail. And then, of course, there's a university that has approached me to be a distinguished professor with them. I will not say the name until they sign and give me the... So at the moment, I'm not going to people and say, oh, please, whatever. People are coming to me and they say, please help us with this. And we talk. And of course, I put my needs or my wants on the table, and then we can negotiate. But I'm here and I'm less stressed and I'm happy and I'm comfortable.
The content.
The podcast. I have a podcast, and a podcast, as I explained when I introduced it, I'm going to talk about things that I believe need to be talked about. Of course, I'll talk about, I'll give advice to young academics who want to develop their careers. I'll talk to masters and PhD students who want advice on research and so on. But I'll also talk about career guidance. Many young people take degrees at university, but they don't know what they're going to do with them. And then I talk about money, because I really think young people do not respect money. I wonder, when I go to my township, I also wonder whether our people respect money as they should. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the economy of time. I talk about things that disturb me, white supremacy. That's all over, that we as Black people, in fact, are enabling and perpetuating. Of course, I talk about things that bother young people: mujolo, succeeding at university, ghosting people. So you know, because young people ask me about this. I will talk about it. And as you know, I've got children, and I'm a mother of boys. So I hear what they battle with. I call them to order. Sometimes I run tutorials, mommy tutorials, forced mommy tutorials at home. And so some of those, I put them out there. And of course, I'm going to have fun. I mean, I have a damn sense of humor, right? And I want that to come through on my podcast.
Thanks so much, Ma, for being with us. I know last year, Oprah Winfrey, which you are working with her, she sent you a congratulatory video message.
Yes.
I was like, dang.
Dang. That's major.
Oh man, I'm forgetting who I'm talking
really?
to.
Yeah.
Like,
my brand equity just went up.
I don't think SA appreciate you enough to the contribution you are making to academic. The contribution you made to Spoo. I never thought you.
Yes.
I'm so humble whenever I look at what you did, how you managed to raise when they wanted to integrate you, you took that 2 million, you raised more millions, you paid about 100 students to graduate. I was so glad you did that. You remind me of the contribution that Dr. DJ Spoo has made with DJ Fresh, about 1.5 students that they have paid over. You remind me of the things that Skumba is doing, over 400 wheelchairs that he has bought, given to disabled people. Like, we take it so lightly. If you are not affected or you don't know circumstances around people who don't have wheelchairs, people who can't afford education, you take it so lightly. With me being saying that, all the best with whatever that you are going to do. Modimo ahodishe and give you more wisdom and more humbly heart, willing to make more impact. Thank you so much. With that being said,
and in addition to that, I can't help but say this: you are an exemplary figure of what it means to really just take up space and cement yourself, to lexically refine imbalances in society. And so thank you so much for joining us, Ma. We appreciate it and we're honored.
Thank you.
Thank you, Queen
Absolutely.
Mother. Guys, subscribe, like, and share and comment. See you in our next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Picture time.
Yeah.
Can
The factory
Are we
is
removing the chairs?
yeah.
Perfect.
I'm gonna put up on my hair.
Really beautiful. But like a photo bomb. It could be my mom.
I know.
The chair is heavy.
But your nose is better than mine.
I know it's